What's going on, guys? My name is Taylor, and I just woke up, so if my voice sounds different, that's why. But basically, today, you guys, or a couple of you actually were talking about how I discussed Nikola Tesla in the last video, and you guys were talking that you might want to see another video on some sort of famous person. So I decided to come back today and talk a little bit about someone else who I thought, maybe not so famous, just an interesting person, because I believe that's how the comment was worded. And so I decided that to come back and talk to you guys about another person that, in my mind, is actually really interesting. Mainly because of the story that he says his life entails. Now, many of you may have heard of him, but let's get right into this. Now, the person I'm talking about, his name is Frain Selleck. And a couple of you might have heard about him. He kind of got a little bit of fame in the last year because a lot of news articles were published about him. But his name is Frain Selleck, and no, it's not Frank, as in F-R-A-N-K. It's F-R-A-N-E, Frain Selleck. So I was a little interested with that. He's a Croatian man, and so that's why the name makes sense, because he's definitely not from the English Western-speaking world with the name Frank. He's with anyways, I'm just getting way off topic here, but but essentially what he claims to have done, now none of this is verified, but he claims to have survived death 7 times, and then after that he also got something, so he got something else, so he's considered the luckiest unlucky man alive, depending on how you look at it. So the first thing that he did was in 1962, he was riding on a train, and his train derailed off of the tracks and flew off a cliff into a river. And now, instead of dying on impact like the rest of the people in his train, he actually was pulled aside by someone who saw the train go in, dove after it, was pulled out, and managed to actually survive the whole ordeal. Now, to make his story even more incredible, in addition to that, the next year, he actually was on his first and only plane ride, and about halfway through the flight, both engines cut out. And now, most of the time, we all think we're going to die. And him, on the other hand, he probably thought the same thing, but him, on the other hand, he didn't die. So his plane, the engines cut out, and as it was falling, one of the doors blew out on the plane, and it sucked him out of the plane. And now, while the plane went and crashed into a mountain, blew up, killing all the other passengers, not most of them, he was flying through the air without a parachute, and he was just falling, and he ended up landing in a giant hay bale and surviving. You heard that right. He actually survived falling out of a plane. Now, that's not the end of his survival story. 3 years after that, in 1966, he was riding on a bus because he was probably scared of planes by now and scared of trains, so he decided to ride on a bus, and his bus actually slid and skidded off of the road and into a river, drowning 4 of the passengers. He was able to swim to shore with only a few cuts and bruises, though, and lived to tell about him. That's not the end. That's now 3 brushes with death that he has survived. The next one, in 1970, his car actually caught fire, and he managed to jump out of the rolling vehicle that was on fire before it exploded when it hit the fuel tank, when the fire hit the fuel tank. That's just incredible. So now he's survived 4. His 5th one came 3 years later in another driving incident. Actually, the engine of his car was doused with hot oil from a malfunctioning fuel pump. Now, this caused fire to actually spew out of the air vents and in his face. So he was getting fire spewing in his face. And it actually singed a lot of his hair, burned most of his hair off, but he managed to get out of the car with just his hair being burnt. So that's now, what, 5? I don't even know. But in 1995, he was actually struck by a bus. He was just straight up hit by a bus, but only survived with minor injuries. And then that's what, 6, and his 7th brush with death came in 1996. He eluded a head-on collision with a semi-truck coming around a bend on a mountain. So he's high up on a mountain, a winding road, in his car. He's coming around a corner, and he sees a truck in his lane, coming into his lane because the truck couldn't take the turn. Oh, sorry, over here. the truck couldn't take the turn, so he had to swerve off, and he hit the guardrail, and the force of his car destroyed the guardrail, and he flew off the cliff. And that was a 300-foot drop to the ground. But when he went off the cliff, his door opened, and he was ejected out of the seat. And he landed in a tree, safely surviving, while his car plummeted 300 feet and then exploded when it hit the ground. So he survived that in a tree, and after that, nothing really incredible has happened. Oh yeah, except the fact that he fucking won the lottery. Yeah, a few years later, he entered into the lottery, just one time. He didn't even freaking enter it a bunch of times, but he fucking entered and won. He won over $1 million, and at that point, he decided to retire, because, you know, at that point, you've survived 7 brushes with death. You've won the lottery, over $1 million. Just sit down, relax, enjoy the rest of your life, however short it might be, because that's absolutely ridiculous. But he managed to do it somehow. But anyways, guys, let me know what you have experienced the closest or the most, or the scariest moment of your life. But I mean, this guy's absolutely insane. Like I said, none of his stories have been 100% confirmed at all, actually. But there's a Wikipedia page about him, lots of articles about him, a lot of information on Google if you just want to check him out. His name is, again, Frane Selak. He's one badass mofo. They coined him the luckiest unlucky man alive. But anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this commentary. If you did, make sure to drop it a like and let me know if you guys want to see more of these interesting people stories, or if you guys want me to do something else or anything like that. Ended up finishing BioShock 2, so I don't think I will be doing a Let's Play of it. It was so amazing. Absolutely loved BioShock 2. It was probably better than BioShock 1 for me. I freaking loved it. It was fantastic. Anyways, guys, hope you all enjoyed. My name's Taylor, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out, guys.